All right. So hope you're having a great day today and hope that you have already filled your stomach to be ready here for our discussion. So tonight we're going to talk about MySQL, okay, which is the first tool that we're going to introduce that will be used for our business intelligence. Right? So this will be the overview of our discussion. First, let's talk about SQL database. Then let's try to look at the introduction to SQL and what are the SQL syntax, statements, where clause, top clause, limit or row num clause, and group by statement. And then you have other clauses like select and select distinct statements, insert into, update, and delete statement. So as you may have recalled in our previous discussion, we have actually laid out how we can do business intelligence and how we position business intelligence in the data science aspect of data science aspect of learning or getting trends from the data. Like for example, we have before we can start with doing business intelligence, we have to talk first about the data source. And the data source, as we mentioned in our during our first lecture, is that we will stick to the traditional data source. We will not be talking about big data. So when you look at here, there are plenty of tools that are available either for traditional or big data. But then what we're going to use for our data is actually the SQL. So when you try to look at it, when we narrow down our tools that we're going to use for this subject, then for our data source, we will try to stick with MySQL, and also we can use comma separated values files. And you also have for big data, we will not be dealing with big data. And for the business intelligence, we're going to use Tableau or you have Python. And then for the future, we'll have a short discussion about Python being used for prediction. Right? So we will start first with our data, which is we will be focusing our discussion on traditional data, and that would be for the MySQL. So this will be the synergy of the three technologies. So we have the data source, which is MySQL, and then for Tableau, for us to do business intelligence and some data analysis, and for Python for data analytics. That will be for the future. All right. So what do we mean by SQL database? Okay, SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it's primarily used for relational database. And a SQL database is a collection of tables that stores a specific set of structured data. Okay, so that's how we look at SQL, and we will be dealing with structured data only. And with this also, it's good that we have this kind of context in our discussion because we would now know that this is just really the introductory part of business intelligence. So anyway, the SQL database has long been the tried and true workhorse of the backend enterprise and at the heart of everything we do in this electronic age. Okay, so like for example, many of the websites that we are using are actually using SQL database. So where can we find the SQL database in the context of enterprise? Okay, so for example, if you're working on an enterprise, say if for example we are the users, the enterprise actually provides us with programs. So the programs will shield away the complexity of doing the SQL query by simply presenting us with easy to use interactive user interface, like for example a button or a text box. And for example, when you click a button, something will happen in the background, but little did we know that when we do that, when we click a button, that program actually translate that click of a button into a SQL query. Now, the SQL query will then be interpreted by the database management system, or the DBMS, and it will try to see where can it find, or which of these data sources, okay, or which of these data sources will the query go. So that data source might be part of the query also. So for example, if that upon clicking the button and translated to SQL query, the DBMS will know that, for example, it will go to prod C data. Okay, so this database will contain user schemas like tables and all of the information. And after it retrieves all the records, it will somehow return that to the DBMS, and the DBMS will return that to the program. And the program tries to process that records that was returned by the query and display it to the user. The user may not know that underneath it all, there is actually a transformation from one click of a button to another. So when they receive something from the screen, then that is actually the program trying to make the data look good to the user. Okay? So that's how the database work in the context of enterprise, no? So the programs here, we should interpret the programs here as either desktop or the one that you access in your web page. Okay, like for example, if you are interacting with the e-commerce site, say for example, you see a picture of a bicycle, and when you click on the bicycle, that click actually tells the program that it will try to perform some SQL queries, and of course, it will try to look at for the data in prod C. Okay, and then the prod C will return the records, and it will display all the information back to the user. So when you click on the bike, then what happens next is that you will be brought to the next page, and the next page will give you a set of pictures for that bike, the price, the information, the size, whether it is a mountain bike or a race bike or whatever, and of course the price and the seller of the product. So that's how we look at uh, SQL or database management system workings inside the enterprise. So then again, at the user level, all they need to know is that they will need to click these button elements in order for them to perform a particular task. So there are actually many examples of SQL databases. The first one is the one that we'll be using in this course. So it was actually MariaDB and MySQL, right? So what is the difference between these two? So MariaDB and MySQL are binary compatible open source SQL database servers that originally started as just MySQL. Okay, so what happened here is that before there's only MySQL, but then because MySQL was acquired by an enterprise, and people working with MySQL and thinking that it was still open source have a second thought of contributing now, because the owner of MySQL is now an enterprise. Okay, so after that, people doesn't want to really support that concept, because they are thinking that maybe the enterprise will be the one that will be like benefiting from all of their efforts. So what they did is that they fork. When you say they fork, meaning that they get the exact copy of MySQL and they created their own version. So to avoid conflict of names, they just use MariaDB instead of MySQL. But then they are really compatible. When you talk about MariaDB, it's just the same as MySQL. Okay, so that's the origin of MariaDB. Okay, so the future of SQL databases is that new technologies have emerged to meet the needs of database servers that can handle extremely large sets of data with extremely high throughout velocities without sacrificing stability or availability. No, so right now, because of the introduction of big data, and with the big data, we have actually observed that the SQL databases may not be able to handle this big data, because again, big data comes with unstructured form, and SQL actually requires to store data in a structured format. That's why, since SQL database may not be able to handle big data, there is now the creation of NoSQL, okay, which can be read as not only SQL or non-SQL databases. So they have become increasing popular to meet these demands, and NoSQL database house their data differently than relational database by utilizing JSON-based or key-value databases, to name a couple of the common storage types. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So when you talk about JSON, it's actually just an entity wherein you can store it into the database, and this JSON can come in any format. Okay, so that's how NoSQL stores its data. It's different from SQL because we require some kind of organization. Okay, there's some kind of a requirement for us to really store data in SQL databases. So we also have PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL is also enterprise database, and this is another version of an open source database, PostgreSQL, and PostgreSQL has been used in many enterprise systems, especially in IIT. PostgreSQL is the preferred choice of database. So PostgreSQL actually tries to be defines itself as object relational database systems, and tries to be an all-in-one solution. Because with the emerging of big data, PostgreSQL also introduced a data type called a JSON data type. So it means that PostgreSQL tries to combine the power of relational databases and NoSQL databases. So that's what makes PostgreSQL ahead of other databases like the MySQL. So the degree that SQL databases are entrenched into our daily lives means this highly functional and robust RDBMS will be a mainstay of the enterprise for decades to come. Okay, we cannot really say that NoSQL will always will replace MySQL or PostgreSQL. So the idea now is that if you're going to ask me what database are you going to use, is it a relational database or NoSQL? So my answer for that one is it depends on your use case. So if you're dealing with big data with a variety of format and data organization, then you're going to use NoSQL. But if it is for the enterprise and you expect some organization of your data in the table, then you're going to use relational database system. All right. So next is that when we talk about SQL, there is a form that we need to follow, and that form is commonly known as the SQL syntax. And that syntax is actually the programming language that is defined and maintained by a standard like ISO/IEC SC32 as part of ISO IEC 9075. So many of these databases use these standards to implement their own version. Though sometimes there is some minor difference, but if you look at it in a general form, they are basically the same. Okay, it just differ in some implementation, or some databases added some convenience for the programmers to write the SQL. Okay, but at the very core, these SQL databases actually follows the standard of ISO. So despite the existence of the standard, SQL code is not completely portable among different database systems without adjustments. So that's what I mentioned a while ago. So some database system makes, even though at the core they follow the standard, but they added some features that makes the life of the programmer much more easier. That's why if you are used with that, then it will be like very difficult for you also to like go to other SQL database system. But at the very core, it's still SQL, and it follows the ISO. So now we have here an example command. No, this is the command now for MySQL. No, like create database. Then you have the DB name. So I think it would be good if we are going to start this with an example. No, while we run our database also. All right. So I hope that you have installed XAMPP for those of you who have computers. So what we need to do is that we have to start the Apache. You just click on that. Okay. So this is the interface that you'll be using after you install the XAMPP. So when it's green, it means that the Apache is already started, and we need to start also MySQL. Okay, so MySQL is there already. So the next thing is that we're going to access our database by simply typing localhost. Okay, you say localhost is actually a term that is referring to your computer, and it is somewhat correct because the Apache and the MySQL is running in our computer, and we treat and in this context we are serving the Apache and MySQL in our local host. Okay, so this will automatically be seen, and then you click the PHP my admin. Okay, wait for it to load. Wait for it to load. Sometimes even if right, it's running in local host. It's still like it will still run slow. So you can do here. All right. So going back to our presentation, so it says here that to create a database, you have to issue the command create database DB name. So I already have FunDB here. So I'll just name, for example, create database FunDB2. Okay, so we should not forget the semicolon. Okay, and then we click go. Okay, as you can see now, we now have the FunDB2. So what we're trying to do here is that this is the SQL command that tells MySQL to create a database name, DB name, DB underscore name. And in our example, the name of our database is FunDB2. So we'll try to click on it to activate the database. And then we'll try to look at the contents. Okay. For now, FunDB2 doesn't contain anything at all because we haven't created a table. Okay, so let us try to create a table now. Okay, or we can do drop database. No, drop database. Let's try to go back here. SQL. Drop database is actually a very dangerous command. Okay, you only need to do this if you are really sure that you wanted to delete a database. Otherwise, avoid using this command. So if you're just playing around, then you can just simply use this, no, for your convenience. But again, this is a very dangerous command that will try to remove the database that you have created. Okay, by all costs, if you are already working with in the enterprise, at all costs, avoid thinking of using drop database. So for the sake of example, we just say drop database, and then, for example, I'm interested to delete FunDB. I'll just say FunDB. Okay, so we just click go. Okay, so as you can see, after issuing the command drop database FunDB, the FunDB database here is removed, and what remains is the FunDB2, right? And then next, let's now try to create a table. So we try to activate, okay? Activating a database is simply clicking it, all right? So if we do not click it, if we just go directly to SQL interface, then you will not be able to create any database because MySQL or the PHP admin do not know where to create the table. To create a table, you need a database for that. Okay? That is why you have to activate it by just simply clicking. After clicking, you notice that this one here is changed to FunDB2. Okay? Check. Diba? When you click the database. Or for example, if I'm going to click ToyDB, as you can see, the database is also changed to ToyDB. So whatever you do, whatever SQL statement you're going to make, it will be directed to the ToyDB database. Okay, so this database here contains now like 5 tables. Okay, so now let's try to go back to FunDB2. Let's activate that. Simply clicking on it, and then the database now is already FunDB2. All right, and then we go to SQL, and then we'll try to create table. So this is how we can add a table. Diba? As you can see, for example, for the ToyDB, we have 5 tables, but FunDB doesn't have any table. So to add a table, you issue the command create table, for example, my guest. Okay. Then you do not forget the semicolon. And then this is now your table. The table actually corresponds to a column in your database. So for example, you say ID int, okay, 6 digit. So it's actually an integer, stands for whole numbers with 6 digits, and it is unsigned. So meaning we don't take negative numbers for this one. Auto increment means that the database will be the one to do the increasing of the numbers. So basically it will start at 1, and after that the database will say if you're going to add new records, then the next ID will be +1. So if it is 1, then the next ID will be 2. If you add another record, then it will be 3. Okay, just like that. And this will be our primary key. So what we mean by that? So primary key tells us that this column here will identify all the records, just like our student ID number. Our student ID number is our primary key because when we type our student ID number, what happens is that it will actually pull up all the records relating to us. So it is guaranteed that in IIT, it's guaranteed that our student ID number does not have a duplicate ID number with other students. So it's only us that will actually have that ID number all throughout our study in Inisio IIT. And then we have first name, for example, varchar. So it means that it is a text, okay? A text with 30, maximum of 30 characters. And this should not be not null, meaning that this field should not be empty. It should contain something. And then we have last name, okay, varchar. So it is again a string with 30 characters, okay, not null. And then email is varchar, a string with 50 characters. Now, if you're going to ask me, sir, how are we going to decide whether that column contains 30 characters or 50 characters? So it actually depends on the business requirement. In our case here, we just assume that the maximum length of a first name is 30. And the maximum length of the last name is 30 characters also. Like, maybe there is no such name as supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, no? So wala na siya. So at maximum 30 lang ang iyahang characters. And then the email is 50 characters. Okay? Once we have done typing this, we go now to the go here. Ayan. So once we created a table, then we will now see here that FunDB now contains our table, my guest. And the columns, what are the columns? The columns are the email, the first name, the ID, and the last name. Okay? So this is how we are going to create a table. Now, when you look at this syntax here, there is actually ID, the name of the column, and int6, varchar 30, and varchar 50 is what we call data types. Okay, data types actually determine the kind of values that you can store into that column. Like, for example, since this is an integer, if you're going to insert a value which is 1.5, then the database will not accept it because 1.5 is actually a decimal number. And we specify that we can only accept a whole number for this column ID. Okay? Now, say for example, if the first name exceeds 30 characters, then what gets stored is only the 30th character, not the 31st or the 40th character. Okay, because we specify that the text maximum length is only 30. So for example, if you're going to add a row to this table and you forgot to put a value for first name, then there will be an error because you specified that it is not. So there are actually many MySQL data types. Okay, there are also numbers, okay, and among other things. So when we have this table, then we can do the CRUD operations. So what are the CRUD operations? CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. And this refers to a set of instructions used to retrieve, manipulate, and maintain records in the table. So we have insert here. This means the insert is actually an instruction that adds a new record or a new row to our table. Okay? And update, it actually changes the records in a table. Delete, it removes the records from the table, and select, it displays the records in the table and sometimes controlled by a criteria. Okay? And also for delete and update. So say for example, we are interested to put a record to our guest, my guest table. So we can, like for example here, we can just say, for example, select all from my guests. Okay. So when you do that, click go. There's nothing. Okay. There's nothing that will be displayed here because it doesn't contain anything. So it will also tells us that MySQL returned an empty result set. Okay, 0 rows because it doesn't contain anything. So for us to put data into this table, we are going to use the insert command. So the syntax or the form that we need to follow in order for us to be able to add a row to our table is insert into, this is requirement, insert into, then the table name, open parentheses, then the column 1, 2, 3, up to like how many columns you have. Then you specify the values. Okay? Like, for example, no, you have, we can say insert into my guests. Okay? So the column names that we need to update are first name, first name, last name, and then you have email, values. Okay. Oh, let me check. We can, for readability, we can do this. values. Okay. And then say all text values are enclosed with single quote. Okay. One. Okay. Then you have Maya. Okay. And you say, for example, one dot Maya at email.com. Okay. So let's try to give it a try. Okay. So first name, last name, and email. Then we click go. So we're done. It says here that we have inserted one row. Now let us try to check the contents now of our table my guest. It says select all from my guests and with semicolon and you click go. Okay. So now okay, we have the row. Okay, we have one Maya, and then the email is one.maya@email.com. Now you notice that in our previous insert query, we did not specify a value for ID, but when you try to check it here, you notice that the value of ID is actually 1. So it is not magic, but it is the behavior of ID because we said that ID will be our primary key, and at the same time, we will do an auto increment. So in the case where we don't put, when we don't include the ID in our insert, then the database will take care of the assigning the value for ID based on the criteria that we give into it. All right? So do you still follow? Good. Si Winelin rin naka-follow. What about si, yan, Duhara? Where are the others? Ashela? Erwin? Okay.
Pinapalo ko
Erwin?
lang sir yung ano nyo,
Okay.
pero yung sa ano ko kasi iba yung gamit ko na ano eh. Ito pinag-aaralan ko lang yung ano nyo.
Okay. Okay. Sige, sige. Okay. No worries. So now that's our insert instruction. The next thing is like we can do insert, no? We can do insert like this and we just insert one row. Okay. MySQL, this is actually the kind of somewhat uniqueness with MySQL. MySQL actually allows you to insert multiple values. Okay, just like this one. So you insert this, okay, and insert like how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So copy that, paste, and say go. Okay. Now, when we do select, go, we now have plenty of data. Okay, excuse me for a while. Let me just drink some water. All right. So we have here two ways to insert table to MySQL. The first one is by inserting one row, and the other one is by inserting multiple rows. So here we have six total because we inserted first this one and the next one is this. Okay. So next is the select. No, the select statement is already familiar to you because I was actually using it previously. Like I say, select all from my guest. So this is the simplest select statement that you can do. So the select statement will actually tell the MySQL that you are interested to select all the records. Okay, select all the records, or you want to select all the columns in our table from the my guest database. So this is a very simple form. This allows us to retrieve all the records from our table. But then you can also specify the field that you wanted to retrieve. Like for example, if you are interested only for the last name, then you just say select last name from my guest. So when you do that, okay, what gets returned is only the last name column and all its value. Okay. So if you wanted to retrieve the last name and the first name, you can just say select last name, comma, first name, and then click no. Right. Okay. So we now have the last name and the first name. So, but if you do not want to specify, just select all and then click row. All right. So all the columns are displayed like the ID, the first name, the last name, and the email. Okay. So next is we have, okay, this is already familiar. And then like this one is already done a while ago. Okay. So the next is that you can actually do something like group by. Okay. So the group by statement groups rows that have the same values into summary rows, like find the number of customers in each country, for example. And the group by statement is often used with aggregate functions like count, max, mean, sum, and average to group the result set by one or more columns. Like for example, I wanted to know if there are last names that are repeated in my guests table. So the way to do that, okay, is to do something like this. Okay, select last name, then we need to count it. Count from my guest group by last name. So when you do that, it will tell us that all the last names that we have encoded into our database are unique except for the last name Calio, because Calio has two occurrences. Okay, so that's what it tells us. That's the purpose of the group by statement. And then next is that, for example, if you have 1,000 rows already, and you just wanted to see at least the top 5 rows, then you can actually limit the rows that you can retrieve from the table by using the limit keyword. Okay, so you can do something like that and then say select all from my guest limit 3. So let's check this one, and when we run this, you have like, okay, so the one that gets displayed is only the first 3 rows in the database. Okay, and then next is that we also have here the where statement. So the where statement actually allows us to specify some conditions that some conditions that we need to give to the database so that it can return only the rows that satisfies that condition. Okay. So for example, in this case here, we begin with a very simple select statement, select all from my guest, and then you put here the where statement, and then say, for example, we are interested to check, okay? Okay, we'll just say, for example, select all from my guest, okay? Diba ganyan, we counted that Kalyu has 2 entries in our my guest table. So you just say, select all from my guest where last name equal to Kalyu. Okay? So when you run this, go. Ayan. So indeed, there are 2 Kalyos in our database with the same first name, but then they differ in their email. Right? So that's it. So where this is the condition, only wanted to retrieve the record whose last name is equals to Kalyu. And you can also like use the word like. No, the like actually gives us the flexibility of putting a wild card. Okay, so for example, last name or email like, say for example, %email.com. So what does it mean? It means that we are interested to retrieve all the rows in which the email ends with email.com, and we don't care what is actually the entries before the email.com. Okay? So long as it ends with email.com, then we want that record. Okay? The percent here represents your wildcard. So it means that any other values will do, except that the last value should be email.com. So when you click go, ayan. So what gets retrieved are only the records that ends with email, right? Email.com, and then you have email.com. That's how you can specify conditions in MySQL, okay, using the where statement. And then we can also update the record by using the update statement. So you just have to say update update table name, set column name to Sambal. If you're going to issue only this statement, it means that you're going to affect all the records in the table. And sometimes this is not the thing that you wanted to do. Okay, and this is quite a very dangerous command also if you are applying it into an income table. Like say for example, you wanted to change only the income of a particular person, but then because you forgot to put the where condition, then what happens is that you applied all the values to the all the you updated all the records in the table if you did not specify the where condition. So if your intention is really to update all the records in the table, then you just use update table name, set column name is equal to some value. And then if that is not your intention, please do not forget to include the where condition. Okay? You have here, for example. So say for example, update my guest, set first name is equals to Joe Love, where email is equals to johnveluna@gmail.com. So let us try to check first. Email is select all from my guests where email is equals to John B. Luna at gmail.com. Go. Right. So, select all. Oy, wala tayong John B. Luna. 0 rows. So, let us try to check. So, so oops. Okay. Hindi na-recognize. Let's just try to delete this one first. Okay. Select all from my guest. Let's say go. Yan. So suppose that at email.com. Okay. johnbiluna at email.com. It's not Gmail but email.com. So select johnbiluna at email.com. Say go. Okay, so we have, okay, let us just try to change this one to email.com. Okay, so if you wanted to update John Biluna, so the value of John Biluna is actually, the ID is 6. We cannot change that because this is a unique ID given by the system. John B. Last name is Lunas and the email is johnbluna@email.com. So if you wanted to change the first name to Joe Love for John B. Luna, then you have to say update my guest, set first name is equals to Joe Love for the email johnbluna@email.com. So we'll just copy this one and we apply it and then we click go. Oops. Oh, okay. So I just have to change the quotation because it's not expected character. Yan. Joe Love. Joe Love. Joe Love. Right? So click go. Yan. So we were able to set the first name to Joe Love. Now let us try to check. Okay, let's try to check. Select all from my guests where email is equals to johnbiluna@email.com. Click go. Ayan. So, the first name is now Joe Love. It's not anymore the previous name. Okay? So, we're able to update. So, that's the effect of the update command. And then next, we have delete from table name. So, again, this one is very dangerous. If you just put delete from and then table name, because if you do that, it means that you are going to remove all the rows in the table, no matter if it is 1 million rows, 5 million rows, 20 million rows, with just this simple command. All the rows in the table will be deleted, and that is a very dangerous command. Okay, so if you only wanted to delete a single entry from that table, then you have to include in this command the where condition. So again, the delete command is a very dangerous command. Avoid it at all costs, especially in your production databases. However, for the sake of example for this class, let us try to demo how we can do the delete statement. Okay, so here we have just updated the name of John Biluna to Joe Lab, but then we wanted to delete it, right? So we'll just say delete. Okay. Delete from my guests. Okay. Then you have where. But before we're going to delete it, okay, this one works. Okay, this one is actually a comment. So MySQL will just ignore it. So say select all my guest. Okay. So when you click go, it will display 6 rows. Okay. It tells you that it returns 6 rows in total. Okay. And then you have the ID of Joe Love is actually 6. Now, what if we're not interested to remove Joe Love, but instead we wanted to delete Mishan de la Cruz? So we just select this one. So Mishan is actually Mishane.dcruz@mainit.com. Okay. So we'll just change John Bellona. Okay. So and then after we delete, okay. Dito na lang. So we just put it here. We just comment it. Ayan. So this will be ignored. Now we say delete from my guest or email is equals to mishane.dcruz@mainit.com. So click go. Ayan. Okay. It says here that we have deleted 1 row. And then to check, say go. Ayan. So what gets returned is only 5 rows in total. And the ID for machine is already deleted, right? We have 1, 2, 3. Supposedly we have 4 here, but it's not 4 because we have deleted it. But there is no change to the other IDs. Okay? Because if we're going to change it, then there will be a problem, right? So again, these IDs are unique. So that's how we do it. And then say for example, okay, this is okay. So do you have any questions so far? Maybe we'll just try to do this. You have uh click down below na. Delete dyan below na, and then after that, yun. Okay? After we can actually combine this kind of statement, no? After we delete, we perform select. Okay? So when we click go, it will show. Yes, okay. It asks me whether I am sure that I'm going to perform this statement. Okay, I just said yes. Yan. So, we have two, no, okay, there is no records that was deleted because the email that was encoded here is johnbiluna@email.com. However, if we're going to edit this, let's say email.com, and when we run, okay, and I'm sure. So, we now have here a message saying that we have deleted 1 row, and then we are only shown with 4. Okay, 4 rows in total as retrieved from our database. So that is the power of the delete operation. So that is the CRUD. Okay, do you have any questions so far? Yes, go ahead, Juvie May.
Actually, this is not a question, sir. But can we did not know the everything, mga good sir. But pwede maka-ask ani sa to gani imong slides.
Yes, sure, sure. In fact, after my discussion, I'm going to post this in our classroom.
Okay, ano sir, para kay murag more on listening, wala kay na mo siya nakuan kaganina mo good sir.
Yeah,
Para
yeah, yeah.
ma
So don't worry, I understand you, ma'am. Okay, no worries about
sir,
that.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So anyway, like for example, if I require you to submit your database, all you need to do is click on the database. Okay, click on that, and then can you do? So you have to export. Okay, export. Okay, and then the format will be the export method will be quick, and the format is SQL. You say export. Okay, then it is already exported. So this is the file that you're going to submit. Okay, such that when you open it, say for example Visual Studio, saan Visual Studio? Yun, lugay nag-load. Ayan. So this is actually your database dump. Okay, so what gets returned is all the contents of your database, including the instruction on how to create the table and then on how to insert the values. Okay, whatever values you have in your table will be given here. Same is true with primary key. Okay, then the additional requirement that ID is not. So you don't have to be concerned about this because this is automatically produced by PHP MyAdmin SQL. Okay, so this is the file that you're going to submit when I require you to submit your database. So next is that we are going to have an activity. But first, let me stop my recording because I will be sharing my recording to you later.